took a couple, I took some time off to rest, and now it's game time, bitches.
Murdered, shot inside her own home. On Thursday, April 7th, 2022 at 12:27 p.m, a 911 call came into Copperas Cove Police. The line went dead. Officers rushed to 1000 block of Hobby Road, and as they reached the front door, they heard it, a voice from inside. Wait. Then the piercing scream, then gunfire. When the door was forced open, 33-year-old Destiney Jassmund Carey, a mother of 6, lay on the floor, not moving. She had been shot. The man inside with her, her ex-husband, Kevin Frazier. Moments later, Destiney was gone. Why her? Why, in the middle of the day, with children's lives tethered to her every breath, did Destiney Carey never walk out of that front door again? This wasn't a stranger's crime, it wasn't random, it was personal. And yet, when police pulled Frazier from the living room, also shot but alive, nothing about his story added up. His words shifted, his answers contradicted themselves. So what really happened in those final minutes? What truth lies behind that last scream? To the outside world, Destiney was more than just another name in a headline. She was a nurse, an entrepreneur, a hustler in every sense of the word. She ran her own boutique in Killeen High Sadity Boutique and was preparing to open a third business. And at the heart of it all, she was a mother. 6 children depended on her, 6 voices that would never again call her mommy at the end of a long day. Her daughter later said, "She was a hard-working woman. She took care of all 6 of us." And here's where I need you, because stories like Destiney's too often get swallowed up, forgotten, minimized. But her name deserves to live. Her story deserves to be told. So if you're watching this right now, don't click away, because if you turn from her story, you risk helping erase her life. And I won't let that happen. This case isn't just about one tragic afternoon, it's about warning signs, it's about the system, it's about what happens when women, especially black women, aren't protected, when their voices aren't heard until it's too late. Destiney's life was cut short inside her own home, but the question remains, how did it get to this point? What led her to that moment on April 7th, 2022, and why, when officers broke down that door, was her body the one left lifeless on the floor? Stay with me, because in this story every second counts, and by the end you'll see the full picture. The mother she was, the warning signs that went unanswered, and the man accused of taking everything from her. This is the story of Destiney Jassmund Carey, and it's a story you cannot afford to scroll past. The knock on the door wasn't answered with welcome, it was answered with tension. Officers outside heard a man's voice, just one word. Wait. And then, before anyone could react, a scream ripped through the walls. Seconds later, the crack of gunfire shattered the silence. Police forced their way inside the small home on Hobby Road, and what they found would haunt them. By the entryway on the floor lay 33-year-old Destiney Jassmund Carey. Blood had already spread across the tile, seeping into the doorway where just minutes earlier she had been standing. She wasn't moving, her eyes no longer focused. The life of a mother, a daughter, a businesswoman, gone in an instant. Just a few feet away, slumped further inside, was her ex-husband, Kevin Frazier. He had also been shot, but unlike Destiney, he was still alive, breathing, conscious. And in that instant, the story of what happened inside this home became complicated, because the only person who could speak for Destiney had just been silenced. Imagine the weight in that room, officers stepping through blood to check pulses, the sharp smell of gunpowder still hanging in the air, the echoes of gunfire not yet fading from their ears. 2 people shot, 1 dead, 1 clinging to life, 1 crime scene that raised far more questions than answers. Why was Destiney killed? Why, in the middle of the day, in her own home, did her life end with bullets? And why was Kevin, the man tied to her by marriage and years of history, lying there shot, but still alive? The official report says officers arrived within minutes of that 911 hang-up call, but those minutes were enough to change everything for 6 children who would never see their mother again. Think about that. 6 children, suddenly motherless. Their future rewritten in the time it takes for a trigger to be pulled. And here's where you come in. Don't let these details blur together like just another headline. This isn't just another case. This is Destiney's life, and her story can only survive if we carry it forward. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, like, and share, because when the headlines fade, it's only those who keep listening who keep her alive. She wasn't just a statistic. She was Destiney Jassmund Carey, 33 years old, a mother of 6 children who depended on her for everything. To them, she was comfort, laughter, guidance, and love. To her community, she was energy and kindness wrapped in one person. Destiney built a life with her own hands. In Killeen, she opened High Sadity Boutique, a small business that reflected her style and her determination. Friends remember how she worked long hours to balance being an entrepreneur and a full-time mother. Customers described her as welcoming, someone who made them feel seen the moment they walked through her doors. She wasn't wealthy. She wasn't shielded from life's struggles. But those who knew her said she carried herself with pride and gave her children more than what she had growing up. Every school day, every family meal, every late-night talk, Destiney made sure her children knew they were loved. Her Facebook page, filled with photos of her kids and her business, showed a woman proud of both roles, mother and owner, nurturer and hustler. When her death made the news, the headlines only had space for a few lines. Woman found shot, mother of 6. But behind those headlines was a vibrant life, a woman who laughed with friends, who dreamed bigger than her circumstances, who was raising a family that deserved to see her grow old. And here's the truth. Too often when black women are killed, their lives get condensed into crime reports. They are remembered as cases, not as people. Destiney deserves better than that. She deserves to be remembered as the woman who built something for herself, who mothered 6 children, who was loved and respected. Take a second to really sit with this. 6 children are now forced to grow up without their mother. Their lives will never be the same. If you feel that ache in your chest right now, remember this. They don't get to click away from the pain. They live it every single day. So don't scroll past her. Don't let her story fade into silence. Hit like, share, and subscribe, because keeping her name alive is the smallest act of justice we can give her. Over that weekend, investigators worked to piece together what had happened inside that house. They spoke with neighbors, processed the scene, and kept the community updated with careful but limited information. Copperas Cove, a military town where news travels fast, now carried a heavy silence. By Monday, April 11th, the case turned another page. Police announced that Kevin Frazier had been formally charged. He was accused of murder in the killing of Destiney Carey. But that wasn't the only charge, because gunfire had been exchanged while officers were at the scene. He was also charged with aggravated assault on a public servant. His bond was set at $1 million for the murder charge and another $750,000 for the assault, a total of $1.75 million. Frazier had been taken into custody after receiving medical treatment, handed over to military police before being booked into jail. In less than 5 days, the system moved from a single hang-up call to screams, to death, to an arrest. This timeline matters. It places the pieces in order. It forces us to look at the reality step by step, not just as fragments of breaking news. Because Destiney was not a headline. She was a woman whose life was cut short within minutes, whose children woke up one morning with a mother, and by afternoon had none. But the hardest question still lingers. What exactly happened in those short, frantic minutes between the call, the scream, and the silence? Could anything have been done to save her? Those are the questions that ache in the hearts of her family, her friends, and this community. If you feel that ache too, don't let this moment pass you by. Tap the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear Destiney's story, and hit subscribe. Because for her 6 children, the pain doesn't stop, and the least we can do is keep her name alive and demand answers in her honor. Imagine it clearly. The knock, the voice, the scream. Officers standing at that threshold heard it all. The woman's terrified cry, the echo of gunfire through the hallway, a silence so complete it felt like a weight. When they forced the door, the scene inside told a story that words struggled to carry. Destiney Carey, shot and lying just inside the doorway, her final breath taken before anyone could reach her. 6 children, 1 mother, shattered in one moment. Kevin Frazier lay further inside, wounded but breathing. This was no tragedy born of strangers. It happened behind closed doors, in a home. Investigators later detailed these events in an affidavit. Those pages trace the sequence. The 911 call gone silent, the knock met with wait, the scream, the gunfire, the forced entry, and then the discovery of 2 lives shattered in moments. The affidavit became the skeleton of truth, free of emotion but all too real. Forensics sealed the story, blood patterns, bullet trajectories, the placement of both victims. The case file noted only one conclusion: this was no misfire, no accident. The act was deliberate. Kevin Frazier now faces charges that reflect that final horrifying decision. He is charged with the murder of Destiney Jassmund Carey, and because shots were fired while officers were present, he also faces aggravated assault against public servants. The law treats that as a separate offense, recognizing the threat not just to one life, but to those sworn to protect. The outrage is inevitable. A woman calls for help, and yet she never walked out the door alive. Her home became a crime scene, help arrived too late, and a life ended with a single gunshot inside the very walls she built. Her last call for help echoed unanswered through that house, through our hearts, through this community. We cannot allow her voice to fade into silence. Every time you subscribe, every time you share this video, you're saying her story matters. You're saying Destiney Carey will not be erased. Please subscribe, share this video with someone who needs to hear her name, and keep her story alive beyond the static of headlines. Kevin Frazier is now sitting in jail, formally charged with murder in the death of Destiney Carey, and with aggravated assault on a public servant for firing at officers during the incident. The total bond set at $1.75 million, $1 million for murder, $750,000 for assault, reflects how the legal system views the gravity of his actions. But that number, that bond, it's more than paperwork. It's a stark reminder that justice in our courts moves slowly. Trials take months, even years. Meanwhile, Destiney's 6 children face each sunrise without their mother. The ache of grief doesn't operate on a court timetable. Here's the truth: grief hits fast. The headline ran within hours. Friends and family felt the loss immediately. But the legal process? It moves in cold, deliberate steps. Arraignment, motions, timelines, hearings, and every step ticks by as a family waits for answers that may never come. In cases like this, where the victim is a black woman whose life was vibrant and full, the wait can feel like erasure. Each hearing that's delayed, each motion that's postponed, stretches the wound. The legal system demands patience, but for Destiney's children, patience can be heartbreaking. Her family deserves more than waiting. They deserve clarity, they deserve consequences, they deserve justice, and they deserve to see this case through, not for revenge, but for remembrance and closure. So if you believe that justice for black women shouldn't be silent, that their lives deserve protection, their deaths demand accountability, then stay with me. Hit subscribe, because we cannot look away until this story has a resolution. Let's not let her death be the last thing the world remembers of her. That's not justice. In Killeen, hearts were not quieted by distance or headlines. They gathered. Neighbors lit candles outside High Sadity Boutique. Bemused passers-by watched as balloons floated into evening skies, each one a reminder that Destiney had meant something beyond her front door. The boutique, where she chose fabrics, fitted dresses, greeted customers, became still, a hushed shrine to what she built. A woman who juggled motherhood and entrepreneurship, who gave her community her best every day, was gone, and the community's grief filled every silent corner of that shop. This was more than a crime scene. It was a void left in the life of a city that loved her. And when a woman like Destiney is taken from us, the question becomes not just why, but who will keep her name alive. Every city has women whose lives are unnoticed until they are gone. The difference is this: we can choose to remember. So if her story has touched you, If her life matters to you, then speak her name again now. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Hold her memory in your words so she does not become just another name lost to time. Destiney's story is heartbreaking, but she wasn't alone. In Texas, violence behind closed doors has become all too common. In 2022, the Texas Council on Family Violence documented 216 Texans killed by intimate partners or stalkers. In 2023, that number rose to 205. Every one of those victims, like Destiney, was someone's loved one. The days they survived before tragedy were often moments when they felt safest. But these are the times when danger is highest, separation. These deaths don't happen in a vacuum. Across Texas, homicides linked to domestic violence nearly doubled over the past decade. Firearms, too, have made the danger deadlier. When a gun is present in a domestic dispute, the risk of death jumps dramatically. Research shows something shattering. More than half of victims killed had taken steps to leave or were in the process of leaving. That matches national data. 75% of intimate partner homicides occur during or after separation. Imagine a mother just finding courage to break free, instead finding fatal danger. In Destiney's case, we don't yet know if separation played a part. But her death is part of a pattern, a gap in the system, that when someone dares to step out of a violent relationship, they may not walk away alive. We can't ignore this. This isn't just one tragic loss. It's a pattern Texas has failed to break. If you're still listening with your heart open, ask yourself, what does it mean if you look away knowing how many more Destinies are out there? This video isn't about just adding one more name to a tragic statistic. It's about demanding change. So stay, because silence won't save lives. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Speak her name and help us rise above the pattern. When that call to 911 cut off, it wasn't just a dropped line, it was a plea hanging in the air. Across Texas, dispatchers treat silent calls as emergencies, because even silence can signal danger. That's why when a line goes dead, first responders act. They don't assume technical error. They assume someone may need help. That policy exists, and it matters. But what happens after that call is made? In Destiney's case, help arrived, but only after the final shot. Seconds matter more than we realize. Firearm-involved domestic incidents can become lethal in under a minute. The moments between dialing for help and actual help arriving can be the difference between life and death. So what can we learn? If you're ever afraid, don't hesitate to call. If the phone drops, keep calling back until someone responds. Share your exact location. Ask for help. Even if you can't speak clearly, silence matters. And if you see your neighbor's light flickering late at night after a scuffle behind closed doors, call. You might be the one to catch a silent cry before tragedy strikes. Every time someone takes action, not ignoring the signs, not slipping past the uneasy feeling, they push back against the gap between danger and rescue. That gap cost Destiney her life. We can't let that happen again. Let her story spark something more than sorrow. Let it inspire action. Subscribe, share with friends, talk about this case in your community, because one call, one voice, one person refusing to look away, that might just be what saves the next life in danger. Let Destiney teach us all how to act before silence becomes final. Here's what we know. Destiney Carey called 911. Officers arrived at the Hobby Road home. They knocked. A voice answered, "Wait." Then came screams, then gunshots. Destiney was found dead at the doorway. Kevin Frazier was alive, wounded inside. Investigators assembled the scene. The lead detective signed off on an affidavit based on those events. Within days, he was arrested and charged with murder and assault of officers. That is the core of this case. Everything beyond that, motive, what was said in those final moments, whether the children witnessed any of it, remains locked behind silence or sealed court files. The timeline gives clarity, but it also highlights how little we truly know. And that gap breeds the hardest questions. What drove someone to pull the trigger where a mother stood? Why her? What led to her being killed in her own home, so close to those sworn to protect? The answers won't come easily. They're buried in testimonies, in court filings, maybe never spoken aloud, but justice will never arrive unless we keep asking. Stay with this story. Subscribe, comment what you want to see answered next. Share so her name resounds beyond memory, because only a community demanding truth can make justice happen. 6 children now grow up without their mother. No more bedtime stories, no more hugs, no more laughter she tucked in with love after long days. She built a boutique, high sadity, but now it stands silent without her presence. A city that once welcomed her warmth now grieves her absence deeply. Her name, Destiney Jassmund Carey, is spoken in hushed tones, in memories, in prayers. Her family whispers her name at night, afraid that the world will forget what she meant. And too often, that's what happens. Memories fade, cases get filed away, names vanish from conversations. But we refuse to let that happen today. You can be the reason her name stays alive. Say her name. Share her story. Let's fill every comment, every post, every conversation with her presence. Don't let Destiney become just another fade in the news cycle. Her children deserve more than silence. Her community deserves more than memories. Her life deserves to matter. So if you're watching and you believe in remembrance, hit like, share this video with someone who cares, leave a comment with her name, Destiney Jassmund Carey, and subscribe so her legacy doesn't disappear from our world. This story isn't over. The trial isn't finished and questions still hang in the air. What will happen in court? What verdict will be handed down? Will there ever be a full answer to why Destiney Jassmund Carey's life was taken at just 32 years old, leaving 6 children behind? These updates matter, and they will come piece by piece. That's why this is not the end of her story. It's a promise that we'll keep speaking her name, and we won't let silence win. If you hear news, trial dates, verdicts, appeals, share them. If you see her name mentioned, bring it here. Together, this community becomes more than just viewers. We become a voice louder than the silence that often buries black women's stories. We become the witnesses who refuse to look away. So subscribe right now, because when justice comes, you deserve to see it delivered. Like this video, share it, and comment her name, Destiney Jassmund Carey. That's how we turn memory into movement. That's how we make sure she's not forgotten.